Hello, amazing human beings. It's Sarah, and today I will be doing my July wrap-up and August TBR. Man, I have done like nothing with my summer. Just hanging out, just doing nothing, just watching Netflix. That's life, that's me. It's who I am. Wasting time. Wasting my life. Anyways, I accomplished something pretty great with my July, and that is I read 10 books. You know how, like, my last video, I was all like, oh my god, how do people read 10 books in a month? I'm like, yeah, I did it. I did it. What's up? So yeah, I read 10 books this month. Pretty proud of it. Not gonna boast. Maybe I am. I already did. In the month of July, I read 4 nonfiction books, 2 young adult, 1 middle grade, and 3 science fiction. In the world of young adult, I finished Me and Earl and the Dying Girl by Jessie Andrews. I actually really like this one. Kind of. I really like the humor in it. That's pretty much it. It's a lot like any other young adult novel in the way that it's just very, I'm a teenager and I don't like being a teenager and school sucks and things suck and everything sucks. The first sentence in this book is, so in order to understand everything that happened, you have to start from the premise that high school sucks. I almost didn't read this book based on that sentence because that is just so very generically young adult. There has never been a teenager in a young adult novel that has enjoyed high school. Most young adult novels revolve around the fact that they don't like high school, and I fucking hate that. I goddamn hate it. I loved high school and I turned out okay. I just I hate it. But other than that, I found the book very, very funny, very refreshing, and I really like the treatment of death. In a way. I don't want to spoil it, so I don't want to talk about it too much. But, yeah. I liked it. The next young adult book I read was Ransom-Riggs' Hollow City. It's the second book in the Miss Peregrine's Home for Peculiar Children series. I gave this a 3 out of 5 stars. I enjoyed reading it, and of course I love the pictures in it because I think that that is the main selling feature for this book, but I don't know, it just wasn't as great as the first one. I probably would have rather the first one be a standalone. There was some things that were really interesting about it, so yeah, 3 out of 5 stars. I would definitely read it if you've read the first one and you really liked it, because I really liked the first one. So I think just comparatively to that one, this one kind of sucked, but otherwise, it was alright. For nonfiction this month, I finally finished Undeniable by Bill Nye. I've been kind of picking at this one for a while, and I did really end up enjoying it. I think I gave it 4 or 5 stars on Goodreads, I'm not really sure, but I did really enjoy it. The only problem I did have with it, I think I mentioned this before, is that a lot of it is repeat information for me. So if you are new to evolutionary science and everything that has to do with evolution, I would highly recommend this book because, as always, Bill Nye does an incredible job of translating science really well to the public. So it's a really good book to find out a lot more about the subject, but I found that about probably like 60 to 70% of the information in this book I had already read, but that's kind of my own fault because I have read other books similar to it. In a nutshell, it is a very good book. And I also found out after I read it that Bill Nye narrates the audiobook, so if you don't want to physically read it, go get the audiobook because that's awesome. I love Bill Nye. In the middle of the month, I picked up Me Talk Pretty One Day by David Sedaris. As always, I loved this book. It's just, his life is just so funny. And it's not really, do you know what, it's not really his life that's funny, it's the way he interprets it that's really funny. So this is a collection of essays about his experiences. This one has to do a lot with language and when he moved to France and how he had to pick up a new language and other people's language. It's a really good book. Now this set me on a discourse of David Sedaris binging. After that, I went onto YouTube and I found that mostly all of his books are on YouTube as audiobooks, and they are all narrated by David Sedaris, which just amplifies the awesomeness in his books by 5,000. Because once you hear this sarcastic, bitter man read about his sarcastic, bitter life, it is just oh, it's just better by tenfold. The first book I listened to on audiobook of his was When You Were Engulfed in Flames. I believe I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. I really, really loved it. There's really not much else to tell about it. Each story is so individual and so on its own. They're all just amazing, and they piece together fantastically, especially if you read a lot of his books. I've read 4 now, so you really get to know his family and his friends and his boyfriend and their personalities, and the more you go, the more you tend to enjoy it because you know more about them. So it's really magnificent, especially hearing him talk about them. And then after that, I immediately went into Dress Your Family in Corduroy and Denim by him, and I mean, it's just as amazing. This one's based around his family, and they're just all hilarious, and they all have personalities of their own that are just so unique. So it's really interesting to hear them talk to each other, how he talks about them, how he sees them. Overall, just all of David Sedaris' work is on point, really funny, like actually laugh out loud funny, tears coming down my face kind of funny. So I'd highly suggest at least listening to an audiobook by him. I read one middle grade book this month, and that is Who Could That Be at This Hour by Lemony Snicket. I've talked about this one before. I did it for Cramathon. Really, really loved it. I'm definitely going to read the rest of the series. It's kind of a mystery series. It's about a detective, and it's just phenomenal. I loved it. For science fiction, also for Readathon, I read The Word for World is Forest by Ursula K. Le Guin. Really enjoyed this one as well. It was a little more challenging for me, just the way she writes, but I really enjoyed the story and how it kind of mimicked reality, and I love that in a science fiction book. So it's definitely a good read. Next, I finished Now Wait for Last Year by Philip K. Dick. This is another science fiction novel. Like most of his books, the main themes are drugs and challenging reality, which of course I always love, and I find that in each book he does that. He does it in a new and refreshing way. So it's not like reading other books that are about challenging reality and drugs, which a lot of them are. He did it really well with lots of finesse as always, and I really enjoyed this book. Last but definitely not least, for the month of July, I read Armada by Ernest Cline. I absolutely love this book. I love it. I love it. If you haven't read it, you gotta go read it right now. Stop this video. I don't care. Go read it. It's amazing. It is definitely, it's just like it's just a half rung under Ready Player One. This, also beautifully done. I had this really picking feeling in my gut when I picked this up that it was going to be just like a reworded Ready Player One, because I find a lot of authors that have their first book is a mega hit, they tend to do that, kind of just like copy and paste with, you know, some different characters. But this was definitely completely different than Ready Player One. You might not think that if you know the premise and all the video games and the 80s pulp culture, but it's definitely a different feel of a novel. I believe I'll probably do a video about this book, a book review about it, because I absolutely loved it and I want to spread the joy. So I'll probably do that. If you haven't read it, just read it. Just do it. Just get it done. It's amazing. For the month of August, I plan on reading about 8 books. I'm not going to shoot as high as I did last month. The first one I've already started, and that is Andy Weir's The Martian. This movie comes out in October, so I really want to finish the book before the movie comes out. It's really good so far. Really, like, kind of on the sciencey side, which I think is pretty much the only negative review about this book. But I really like the sciencey stuff. I don't think it's overly sciencey, and I don't think it has too much jargon. He does a good job of going into depth of what each thing he's talking about means. So it's definitely not too sciencey. So if that's what's putting you off, don't let it, because it is really good so far. It is about, in case you didn't know, which you probably do, it's about a man who gets stranded on Mars. After a manned mission to Mars, he gets left behind because of sandstorm. He is presumed dead, and he has to survive on Mars by himself. Also from my TBR from July, I am still reading Of Bees and Myths by Eric Sejuan. I'm kind of enjoying it so far. It's really interesting, but it's not captivating. It's kind of hard to read at times. It says that it follows 3 generations of witches in this kind of mystical town. I'm not at the 3 generations part, I'm just at the first kind of generation. Lots of mysteries happening, but I find that he is trying too hard to set him apart from other books. You know, when they're just, you can tell that they're trying to be unique, and it just kind of is hard to read. That's where I'm at with this one right now, but I'm gonna try and dive deeper into it and see if I actually like it. Next on my list is John Darnielle's Wolf in White Van. I'm really excited to read this one as well. I also plan on reading Elon Musk by Ashley Vance this month. It is a business book about this man named Elon Musk. He is very important in our society. If you want to hear more about him, you can hear me talk about him and rant about him in my last video. That's all I'm gonna say. I'm excited. I also planned on and already did read Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe. Yes. I love this book. I loved it. I read it in like 1.5 sittings. It is a beautiful book. Totally problematic for me for the first little half because of the writing, and I was but once you get into it, it's on point. It's good. You'll like it. So lastly, I've come up with this idea for myself. You can join in with me if you'd like, because I really need to do this. On my Goodreads TBR, I have about over 400 books, in between 400 and 500 somewhere. So I've decided that every month, when I'm creating my TBR, I'm gonna pick 2 books from my oldest top 20 on my TBR. So the oldest 20 books on my TBR on Goodreads, I'm gonna pick like 1 to 2, maybe 3 if I'm feeling it per month, and try and read them. Just to eliminate some of those stagnant books on my TBR that have been there forever. First, I'm going to get into Death by Black Hole by Neil deGrasse Tyson. This is a collection of journals and articles written for other places collected into one book, just about questions about the universe. It's not all about black holes, but it's about a lot of different things, and I'm really excited to read it. Summer just makes me want to read sciencey stuff. So that's good. And then lastly, in the month of August, I hope to read Man in High Castle by Philip K. Dick. I believe this is the oldest one on my TBR, and I can't believe I haven't read it. It's definitely Philip K. Dick's best known novel. It's the Hugo Award winner. It is set in America in 1962, and I believe it follows post-war America. They have been occupied by German Nazis and the Japanese. I think it's just about the war and what is happening after the war. Tell me if you've read it. Tell me what you think. So guys, that's all for my July wrap up and my August TBR. Tell me what you guys are reading this month down below, and if you have read any of the books I either read in July or plan to read in August, because I would love to hear your feedback about them, and I would love to talk to you about them. That's why I'm here, because I want to talk to you about books. Yes. As always, you can find me on Goodreads, Twitter, and Tumblr. I'll leave the links down below. I will see you guys later. I hope you all had a wonderful July reading month, and I hope you continue to have a beautiful August. Bye, guys.